Today's session is all about deployment. We'll be deploying our entire end-to-end application that includes the front end, back end, and our database. So, really important session if you want to understand how, after you have built a website or a web application locally, a full stack application locally, how can you actually deploy it and share it with everyone. And of course, we have covered starting from version control systems with Git and GitHub, knowledge about the fundamental or core theory or theoretical aspect of how web development actually functions, then getting hands-on experience with HTML, CSS, JavaScript on front end, and then also equally on the back end with setting up Node.js based backend servers in JavaScript, MongoDB connection, and actually building a full stack application that we did in the last session. That is the note taking application where we use the front end and also back end with the MongoDB connectivity. And of course, so for today's session, we are going to be covering all about deployment, and that is essentially the project deployment. Learn about various tools that are used for deployment, such as Netlify, Heroku, MongoDB Atlas, and of course, finally, we'll be taking up some question answers.
Basically, we would be covering about how our backend server would be like contributing to the front end server, and then so basically we would be using two main tool for this module. So basically, the first one is the Netlify, as well as the second one is the Heroku. So basically, coming toward the Netlify part. So basically, it's a tool for easily deployment of front end application. So we would be talking about how we can connect to our front-end application through Netlify and how we can deploy it over a particular URL or screen, so that you can share that particular URL to other friends or in your circle, so that they can just click on the link and they can see your application within the browser. So again, why we are using Netlify, as it's an easy, uncomplicated tool to host your front-end application. Along with it, provides some of the functionality and that are usable most of the time, like CI/CD. So basically, CI/CD means continuous integration as well as continuous deployment. So what this term specify is, as soon as we do a change in a particular front-end application. So we have previously covered Git and GitHub in module 1. So again, by using that approach, and as soon as we just make some changes in our front end application and we just push it to GitHub. So basically, Netlify is directly connected to the GitHub repository. So we will be showing you a demo. And as soon as we push some information to our GitHub repository, so Netlify again itself detects what type of changes have been done, and again it detects the changes and it do deploy the new application for the changes that have been done to the main Netlify cloud deployment, so that the changes can be as soon as reflected on the URL, that on the same URL that is being provided. And again, so the second tool that we would be using is Heroku. And knowing about Heroku, so basically it's a deployment platform. So we would be deploying our server and backend application to Heroku itself. So either there are many more server application cloud platforms like AWS, GCP, DigitalOcean, and much more. But what Heroku provides some like advantages over them is it's easy to use. We can use any language, for example, Python, Go, Rust, or simple Node.js servers, and we can deploy it to Heroku by doing just simple step as we do as we are deploying it our code to Git. And again, both of the process are so easy and so uncomplicated to understand, and anyone can just learn these two tools on tips of their hands. So again, talking about the advantages of Heroku. So basically, while deployment, we does not need any prior knowledge of cloud computing, how we will be like scaling up our server or how we can configure our server, as Heroku provide us a pre-configured server. So we just have to use a normal git command and we have to specify what type of application we are deploying upon. Like if I'm deploying a node application, so just I have to specify this is a node application. So you Heroku would definitely do their stuff by itself. So we does not have to do again and again, or we have to configure it at our own. Rather, we can configure, but by default, Heroku provides a pre-configuration. So basically, no configuration is needed while deploying a backend application. And again, as I've told, it can be done by simply using it. So what Heroku uses while deploying the application is a common term known as dyno. So you can compare dyno to a building block, like while creating while leading to a foundation of a building. So we have a small brick like kind of structure. So each and every application that you deploy upon, so basically Heroku creates a server and they have a small instances known as dyno. So your application run on that particular dyno that have a common port, and again that dyno run for a particular time. So each time it run upon, so it's called Dino Art. So basically, if Heroku is a free platform for new user, but again, it the servers can be expanded by you by giving some pay or something. So basically, Heroku how it decided is its pricing is by calculating the Dino Art. How much time did the art Dino serves for? So basically, calculating the Dino art, so they just serve our pricing. So basically this is a common functionality how Heroku work upon the dynos, the smallest instance of on which our application work upon. And we would be proceeding to our main deployment time. So yeah, theory obviously get bored, but again it uh, action time to how to deploy our front end as well as back end application.
All right, first we'll go to the GitHub and we'll go to the repository, right? So again, welcome everyone. The first thing that we're going to be doing today is actually deploying our front end of the application. So today, first we'll understand how to go about deploying the front end and what are some of the tools that you can actually use to deploy your front end. Now, in case you have a very simple HTML file and you don't have like a dedicated React application or an Angular application, you can actually use something known as the GitHub pages, right? So what you have to do is that for whatever repository that you're owning, you just need to go to the settings page, and over here within the settings page, under the options settings, you just have to scroll down and you have to go to this GitHub pages. So there is like a dedicated page for the GitHub pages. And what it allows you to do is, I will just probably I had already tried it out, but what you'll have to do is that over here, in case you have a very simple application like just a simple front end application, over here you will be asked that, okay, for your source, what particular branch do you want to use? For example, for us right now we only have like one single branch, so I'll select main. And then you can also actually give it like, okay, which particular folder do you want to choose? So by default it will choose the root folder. And then you can also give it like a custom domain. For example, like a lot of times people deploy their personal portfolio website on GitHub, and then you can actually connect this with your custom domain as well. You'll be asked to put up a few things such as, you know, your DNS records and all. And then what will happen is that by going to that particular website, you will be able to then redirect that domain name to your GitHub hosted or GitHub pages hosted repository. So over here, as you will connect this and you will save it, it will basically get published as your organization or your personal GitHub account .github.io. So for example, for me it would be shivailamba.github.io, and then the name of the repository. So if I go and visit this, you can see that over here, this is my deployed website. And over here, for example, if I want to scroll to any particular module, so I can, like, let's say go to module 1. So like, let's say go to module 1. And if I go to module 1, you can see that it automatically redirected it to the index.html page. So by default, whenever you go to any specific route, for example, in this case I went to module 1 folder, it will always open up the index.html page as default. So the one that we are going to be deploying is basically this module 6. So within module 6 we have front end. So if I go to, like, let's say module 6, and if I go to front end, you can see this page over here. Now, of course, this is like because our application was just built in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I could have used GitHub Pages. But sometimes, if you have a site built with React, Angular, Vue, Gatsby, these are various different types of frameworks, front end dev frameworks, and some of them cannot be deployed using GitHub Pages. And for that, the tool that Raghav also mentioned was Netlify. So we'll go to netlify.com. We'll also be sharing the link for netlify.com as well. Now you just need to log in or like sign up to Netlify. You can sign up using either your Google account, or also, like, for example, I'll just sign out for now. So you can either log in with a GitHub account, GitLab, Bitbucket, or with a email as well. So in this case, I'll be logging into Netlify with my GitHub account, and as soon as you log in, so as soon as you log in, basically it will ask you to connect this Netlify with your GitHub account, and it will gain access to all your repositories, and whichever repository that you want to deploy, right, for in which you have your front end code, you can do that. For example, as you can see, like I have a few sites that I have already deployed from various repositories, and you can see. So just to give a very quick sort of overview about this particular like Netlify tool itself. So over here, this is the main part, that is the sites that you can like use slides. Either you can import an existing project from GitHub or from somewhere else. You can start with a template that is provided by Netlify itself, or like let's say if you have like a file that is locally, and you don't want to actually necessarily like put it on GitHub, and you have created a project locally, you can also use this deploy manually to use like a build folder. So for example, like let's say if you're creating some kind of a React application, Next.js application, you create a build of that project, and then you can directly use that build and put it over here in deploy manually. So over here you can see all my builds. Basically this is showing all the different logs of my deployments that I've tried to make, whether they were whether they were actually like, let's say, real links, or they were like for that matter some other so you'll basically see all the builds from different projects that you are building, and you can see like whether they are completed or they were not successful. So in our case, what we'll do is that we'll basically click on import an existing project under the add new site. And over here, as you can see, again, we can connect with either GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. All of these are tools where you can host your projects. In this case, I'll take GitHub. So as soon as I do that, it will basically allow me to pick up a repository from my GitHub. And in this case, what I'll do is I will basically take, because since the project is not under my personal account, it is under Scalar Academy account, or whichever whichever organizations that you are part of, these organizations will land up over here, and you can select one of them. So in this case, I will select Scalar Academy, and as you can see that this is the one that we are supposed to be deploying, which is the December Web Dev Bootcamp. All right. Now what you can see is that over here you have certain settings that you have to basically put up. Now these settings will be related to, okay, if there is like a specific folder that you want to deploy where you might have your code, or sometimes in case like you're build like creating a deployment for a Next application or a React application, then over here you might see these basic build settings, right? So for example, in our case, the base directory, by default it will assume the base directory to be this directory, like just the repository, project repository itself. So I have the ability to basically provide to it if I want to go specifically into one specific directory. So in this case, like I don't want to deploy my entire like module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, module 5, module 6. I only want to deploy the module 6, and within module 6 I just want to deploy my front end, because that is the note taking application. So I can mention over here module 6, right? So I can take module 6, and over here I can put front end. So what it will do is that it will take only this specific path in the entire repository and only deploy that part. If you don't provide anything in the base directory, it will take the base repository as it is. Now over here in this case, since it's a simple HTML document, we don't need to provide any build command, but usually we'll provide something like next build, npm run build, ng serve. So these are like various commands for different, again, Gatsby build. So depending on your front end framework, you'll be asked to use that build command over here. In our case, we are going to be keeping it empty for now. We also do have some other things, such as adding your environment variables. Variables are useful. For example, like let's say in case you have some passwords, you have some API keys that you don't want to showcase to everyone. Those can be actually put over here in this variable section. In our case, we are not putting anything, so we can just go ahead and click on deploy site. So as soon as I click on deploy site, it starts my deployment, and I can actually look at the logs as well. So because as Raghav also mentioned, that basically these CI/CD tools, they have their own containers and they take your code base. They have their own set of containers in which they start the deployment process, and they'll run a certain set of commands, and they will help to deploy your website. So as you can see, like it didn't even take 1 or 2 seconds, and my site is already live. And I can actually go ahead and look at this preview deployment. So if I click on this preview deployment, as you can see that the name of my application is practicaljonathan.netlify.app. And as you can see, like this is my application itself. I have my three different views, which is create, note, view notes, and homepage. Additional things that you can actually do with this is like you can go to your deployment settings and actually change things such as like the site name. And for that, what you have to do is you can go to the site settings under the site overview. Over here you can go to site settings. You can, like, let's say, change the application. In this case, like let's say we can take a scalar note taking application. So you can give it a name, custom name. You can also actually similar to how we had with the GitHub pages, you can actually transfer the site and also sort of connect it with like a custom domain. So you can, over for that, you'll have to go through the settings for the custom domain if you want to set up a custom domain. For now, like I have given it a custom name of scalar note taking application, but it since it is being hosted on Netlify, it is using the .netlify.app name. So I can go over here now, and you can see like this is the name of my application, scalar note taking application.netlify.app. Now the great thing is that whenever you make any changes to your to your repository, it will automatically start a new build for the application, because since this is continuous integration, continuous deployment, whenever you make any change to your application, it will automatically start creating a new build, and it will get automatically deployed to this new website, right? So it will say that, yeah, your new website is deployed, so automatically that thing will take place. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it with respect to this simple deployment on Netlify. We also have some other tools. We have something called as Vercel. Vercel is also equally good as Netlify. So you can use GitHub pages, you can use Vercel. We also have something called as AWS Amplify. Now if you're like using specifically AWS services, AWS Amplify is also one of them that you can actually use. So there are a lot of different deployment services. Again, you can use it based on your preference. Netlify is also a great one that you can use. With that, I will hand it over back to Raghav.
Thanks, Shivai, for having a great session upon deploying the front-end application and now heading toward the deployment of the back-end application. So I would be continue taking that. Talking about we are on the module 6 right now. So what we have created here, so the front-end application that display how many nodes that we have taken. So basically we have three pages. The initial page, so basically we have scalar hyphen note taking application dot netlify dot app. Okay, so here is the main application. So we have three pages over here. So we have the home page that represents a common text. So to represent, we can take notes over here. So we have three pages over here. So the first one is the view note. So view note represent how many notes do we have at our backend, and at the create note. So how we can create our note. But again, when we are working on the cloud side, so again we do have to host our backend application over the cloud. If I try to create a note like hi there with the name of Raghav. So when I click on save note, and again the note will won't be saved. So again by going back to these three dot and more tools, then developer tools. So over to the console. So you can see that there is an error that have been caught up. So that's nothing but like our server was not responding as we have created server on our local PC. So the server should be on the cloud or on the cloud application in order to fetch or upon the URL so that this note taking application deployed on the Netlify servers so they can also fetch all the information from the second server. So we would be deploying that backend server upon Heroku. So how can we deploy that is so again going back to my code base. So we have these two applications, front end as well as the backend. So initially I would be closing these three and now, yeah, so I would be changing my terminal directory. So just I would be increasing the size. Awesome. So basically I am on the module 6 folder and I would be changing my directory to the backend. So basically in order to deploy upon Heroku by using terminal. So there are various ways to deploy on Heroku. Either we can connect to the GitHub or the easiest way is to deploy through Git commands as stated. So again, for that, so initially you have to download Heroku into your local PC. So how you can do that is just go to Heroku and just click download. And just by hitting enter, so the first link that you can see over here, Heroku CLI. So basically you have to download this Heroku CLI to access all the Heroku commands in from your terminal itself. Terminal or your command prompt that you have. So basically we have a bunch of commands over here. So we can use an installer when you are in Windows, or you can use this command, or this is a Linux command. And again there are some other methods from which you can download upon, and just by downloading from these commands or installer, so what interface you will get is, so basically you would be writing Heroku to test it out. So Heroku version. So basically it return your version of 7.59.2. So basically running on Darwin x64 architecture, along with it is using Node version 12. So now, so basically we have successfully installed the Heroku CLI on a terminal, and now we would be using the simple Heroku commands. So it's nothing much difficult to get it through. It's basically a basic command if you want to create. So you have to just type Heroku create, and again, so initially, so what you have to do is by using, I have told you by using simple git command, so how we can deploy it to the Heroku server. So you can compare Heroku to a simple repository. So basically, as we are upon GitHub, so GitHub is a whole bunch of remote repository that is already upon the cloud. As Shivai told you, like he has connected Netlify to GitHub and connected to a GitHub repository. So basically, what we have to do is we have to connect, we have to push this whole code base to Heroku cloud repository. Again, same as that of GitHub. Again, for that, so basically we again have to use those simple git commands only. So basically I have to initialize this repository as git repository. So before that I would be typing ls command to list all the directories and files within the particular folder. So basically we have these 3 6 files, and also I want to get my hidden files within this folder. So what I will do is ls minus a to get all the hidden file and folder within this particular folder that I have specified. So basically, previously we have 6 files and folder. and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we also have get ignored. So basically, this is nothing but all those files that you does not want your Git to push to your local the online repository or the cloud repository. So basically, you put all the files and folder within this Git ignore file. So I would be displaying you a structure. So basically, dot git ignore. So dot git ignore is an extension. So you don't have to type any name in front of that. So basically, I have just simply typed node module slash. So it represented me a particular folder name. And now this node module folder would be neglected and won't be pushed over the cloud server or the cloud repository. So now, getting back to the terminal. So basically, I would be initializing this repository, this folder as a Git repository. So basically, I would be typing the simple command git init. So what it has done is it has initialized an empty Git repository. So in order to see what type of changes have been done, so again ls simple ls. So again we have this 6 file, but as I have told you earlier in the for module one, so basically Git initialized its current folder in a hidden folder. So basically name as dot git. So what we have to type ls hyphen a to list this dot git folder. So by checking and verifying whether we have dot git folder already installed, so basically we can verify our git is installed within our this backend folder. So now what I will be doing is, so again the simple other commands like git add. So basically I am making a checkpoint, creating a checkpoint above this, and again I will be committing the all the files that have been covered within the particular checkpoint, and I would be taking that checkpoint files and making a particular commit. So basically commit would be acting as a uh, main folder, along with it would be given a particular ID. So if I do any changes and I want to revert my changes back to the previous code, so I would be just typing the ID and I would be checking out that current code to the previous one, so that my code won't be changed and my previous entries would be there. So basically I would be committing the files. So again this is the second command. So we basically have to learn three commands: git add, git commit, git push. But for initializing a particular repository, so we have a bunch of commands like git init to initialize, and then git add, or adding all the files, then committing all the files within a particular ID. So I would be committing with a message hyphen m denotes a message flag. So I would be giving a message as uh, deploying it on Heroku. So again, by committing that, so we have successfully committed it. And again, now I would be adding that remote repository. So if you remember a command from the previous module, so we have a command git remote add origin. So basically, Git, we are telling Git to add a particular remote origin on the cloud. So in that origin, we basically specify a Git repository URL. But now we have a Heroku URL instead. So what we will do is, so basically we have installed Heroku on our local PC. So I would be going to again to Chrome, and I would be just writing Heroku over here. So again, going to the first link that is visible over the screen. So we can close this tab. So again, this that I have already logged in with in the Heroku. So basically, you can sign it out. And again, I would be showing you the exact process. So what we have to do. So basically, I would be directed towards simpleheroku.com, and there I have to sign up over there. But I have already signed up. So you can also sign up from the main Heroku website. And now I would be again going back to login, as I've already created an account. So basically my email address is as admin at the rate raghavdingra.com, and again filling up the password by clicking on login. So you will be redirected to the main dashboard.heroku.com. So basically it will contain all lists of your application that have been deployed upon. And again, each and every application is running upon their own dyno. As I've stated, dyno is nothing but having their particular port numbers and separate server over a single cloud server. If you have a single, for example, I am taking an example of this local PC that I have. So basically, we have a numerous number of applications running upon it. So what separate each and every application from each other is nothing but they have a well-defined port number. So basically, if my application is running on a port number one, so no other application can run on port number one. Rather, they have to define their own port number. So basically, you can compare this to that. So basically, what I would be doing is getting back to my VS Code and writing Heroku login. So if you are just new to it and again you just signed up, so basically you have to use the Heroku login command. So basically you have to initially log in from your browser, and now Heroku will automatically detect what uh, in which account you are in, and you will be automatically logged in by using just simple Heroku login command. So again, the commands are so simple to use and so understanding, like by using this login command, like I am writing just Heroku login and hitting enter. So again, my it would be redirected to a page and I would be hitting just login button to log in into the current account. And now it is stating me press any key to open up the browser. And just by hitting enter, so a browser page would be open that would be having a particular authentication key and everything. So you can see over here, we are using this auth CLI, and a browser page have been open, and this is our particular key through which we will be signed in into our terminal. So just by clicking on this button, and it will be stating like we are successfully logged in, and you can close this page and return to your CLI. So I would be just closing this page and I would be returning to my CLI, and I can see like I am being logged in as my main email account that I have already logged in within the Heroku app. So now I can use my Heroku command and I can create my application within this Heroku account. So basically, what I will be doing is I have not decided what type of remote URL I would be giving in. So now it again, as I've stated, so we just have to type Heroku create command in order to create the application, as well as the origin will itself get club to the main Git repository. So before creating the application, so I would be writing, so what type of remote repository I'm already in. So I would be typing git remote hyphen v that define in which URL or at which URL I would be pushing my code. So currently it's blank. So basically no remote have been set prior to it. So basically now I would be typing Heroku create. So basically, you can give any application name, for example, Scalar December Bootcamp. So this Scalar December Bootcamp will be your main application name, and upon this, your whole URL would be defined upon. So just by clicking enter, so basically it would be creating a new application, and again, so our application have been created, and now it will give the main URL upon which our server would be deployed upon. And now just by again clicking on get remote hyphen v and by hitting enter, so now Heroku have already added a git remote URL. So basically at which repository our code will be pushed upon. And now getting back to the browser, so just by hitting refresh, so what I will be able to see within the app list is one more application have been created by the name of Scalar December Bootcamp, and again that we have done already over here. So just by clicking over it, so we can see all the configuration pre-applied to it. And now what we have to do is just go to the settings, and again we have to add a build pack. So basically build pack is which type of application or language that we are using while creating our server. So basically we are using a Node.js application. So I would be clicking Node.js. So basically it already have a well defined build pack already contained within the Heroku, but we can also make our own build pack. Like what type of configuration would be done in order to create and post our URL upon the cloud server. So basically, I would be selecting this Node.js build pack, and my configuration will be pre-applied. So just by clicking on Save Changes, and now it state me like your new build pack configure will be used when this app is next deployed. So now I have to deploy my app. So what I will be doing is I would be just specifying, uh, I will be pushing my code to the remote repository. So now I would be writing git push. So this is the initial command to that I want to push my repository and at which origin. So now I would be writing hyphen u. Hyphen u denote like I have to permanently push all the code base that is already being there within the particular module to this remote origin that I am specifying here. So where I want to uh, deploy all the code is permanently is Heroku master. So this is the basic command that you have to learn. So basically prior to that, if I am using Git or GitHub to deploy upon GitHub, so what I would be writing is git push origin master. But here is a small change. So basically instead of origin writing origin, so I would be just writing Heroku. So basically, when you click on git remote hyphen v, here is the command. So basically, here defined Heroku that represent at from which URL the fetch would be take place and at which URL push would be taking place. So again, that would be on Heroku, and master mean the main master branch in which our code will be present. And again, I would be changing this origin to Heroku, and just by hitting enter. So now my code will be deployed within the main repository, and again my code will be built based upon the package JSON that we have defined upon. So again, in order to get your app deployed, so be sure that package JSON file must be there within the particular server in order to deploy your code. So basically, again, this how can you create this package JSON just by clicking npm init command. So this npm init, so there is a special type of configuration that we have to define upon, and just by hitting enter, so a package JSON file would be created by itself. And then in the scripts, so we have to define the start script. So this is the main script that we have to define in order to have our pre-built configuration upon Heroku. So basically defining this, like we have to run our server from this node server.js file. So basically we have to run this command within the terminal, and we have to start this script. So basically what it will do is it on the Heroku server, so it would be just writing npm start, and our server would be started according to the server.js file. So now, if you go back to server.js, so now here we have specified our application to listen at this particular port. And here comes the main point. Now, when I go to the main application, like my application have been deployed upon scalar this hyphen this dec hyphen bootcamp.herokuapp.com. When I click on the server, and now it gives us an application error. So why it is happening? So basically, we can also log all the application error upon here. So basically, when I go back to my terminal, so basically, again by writing Heroku log stale command, so again it do have all the direct link to the repository, and again it would be directly automatic to what type of error it has been thrown. So basically, it has thrown us an error like our application won't be started due to some configuration changes. So basically, what type of changes that we have done, and that's giving an error. So basically, you can see dino is equal to empty and connect is equal to empty. So if you just scroll up above, so basically our port is not defined. So basically, what type of error it's giving is basically we cannot define a particular instance of port to the server. So initially, as I specified, like you can compare dyno to ports. So basically, on upon Heroku, so they do have their own port numbers to run upon. We cannot specify a simple port number from our end to run. So what change we can do is just by using again a special variable name known as process. So basically we have a process. So basically what we are doing is we are taking a particular port number from the environment variables. So environment variables are hidden variables that are not visible upon to a simple user. Only we can define these special type of variable to the servers. So basically they can fetch those variables from their configuration file. So basically what I am writing is I would be writing the process.env.port. So port is the main variable name, and where it is present, that's present in the environment variable file. So basically we do have an .env file over here. So basically anyone can define a .env file, and we can define port to a specific number. So basically port is equal to a specific number. So basically if I write process.env.port, so basically this process, what it will do is it's a basically a, a library or a function, and it will go through to the .env file. So basically over here, and it would fetch the port number from here. So basically it denote a port number of 4600. So a 4600 port is, it will be assigned to this constant variable, and we can assign this to over here. But what if our port is not present in the environment variable? So basically at this time, so I would be defining a simple port number over here. So what this or command do is, or command you can compare it to the common, you can formulate this by the common De Morgan's law. So what it state is, or represent union. So basically if you union false or true, it will always give true. If you union false or false, it will gives always false. But if either of the one is true, so basically it will give true value. So basically what it specify is, if I don't have the particular port number, so basically it transfer my condition to the other instance that we have on the right hand side of the this or command. So basically we have this 46 port number. If we have the port number, so again this initial port number that is being defined from the environment variable, so that will be defined in the port variable. Else if we don't have any port from the environment variable, so by default a port number of 4600 will be defined to this variable, and this variable would be transferred over here. So just by clicking save, and again getting back to main again deployment. So what I would be writing this time, I would be writing just three simple command. So again, I have already configured this particular repository to my Heroku. So I don't have to again configure all the repository, and I don't want to specify which type of application I'm deploying again and again. So again, as simple as git. So again, just git add dot. So I would be adding all the files in the git folder. Again, I would be removing this env file as this env file is not required. And again, so every time I make some changes, so I have to create a new checkpoint. So just by clicking git add dot, and again just by hitting commit, so again an id would be assigned. So changed port number, and now git push. Now I don't have to specify over where I have to push my code, as I have already specified by this hyphen u flag that I want to permanently reside and push my code to the Heroku repository. So just by hitting git push and hitting enter, so again my server would be pushed and my code would be pushed, and that would be again installed on the Heroku repository. And again, yeah. So basically our code have been deployed upon this repository. But again now, so in this application, what we have done is, so we have declared two endpoints by two methods, post and get. This get method retrieve all the data from the database, Mongo database that we have defined, and again this post method will host all the data entry coming from the front end to the backend, and from the backend, and that would be saved to the MongoDB database. But now, getting back and remembering our earlier method that we have used, so basically getting to the connect MongoDB. So you do remember, like we have used this local MongoDB server. So again, our front end is upon the cloud, our backend server is upon the cloud, but yet our MongoDB is not upon the cloud. So how we can shift our MongoDB to the cloud? So again, here comes an another great tool that we can use. So basically, that's nothing but MongoDB Atlas. So again, before that, testing our main implementation that we have. So basically, just by clicking on this, by on Windows, you can just command and click upon this URL, or in uh, Mac, you can directly just press command plus click. And again, getting back to what the main Heroku application URL, and then again, it would be taking a huge amount of time to load. Basically, it have a timeout of 60 seconds. If the server does not respond within the 60 seconds, so it the whole task itself get terminated. So basically, we won't be requiring a 60-second to wait. Rather, we can see this infinite loading that is going upon over here. So that's what, again, it gave us application error above 60 seconds. So again, what it denote is nothing but our MongoDB database have not been connected successfully. As we have stated over here, like our MongoDB database should be connected in order to like have our all entries work upon. So basically, where it give error is upon while connecting to the Mongo database. So again, getting back toward the latest tool that we would be requiring in order to set up our MongoDB database. So I would be writing just MongoDB Atlas and getting toward it. So basically, you have to register over here.
So now, as we have described to you that, for example, like let's say if you want to set up your MongoDB online, we have the provision, or MongoDB allows you to have the provision to deploy your MongoDB collections and your entire database online itself. Now, essentially, this think of it is in this way, that's similar to how we had our backend that was deployed to Heroku, and I mean, ultimately, Heroku or any other such kind of service, it uses servers where your production code is hosted, and you get like a URL from which you're able to access that code. Similarly, these online databases, they are also getting hosted on these servers only, and you'll get a URL ultimately with, or we also call it as the Mongo URL, that will be then used to connect with our backend to have our remotely hosted database. Now, MongoDB comes with both shared as well as dedicated hosts. So what does that mean is that these shared databases are using shared resources, where there might be, like, let's say, other people also having their own databases on that single server. Then you can also have like dedicated servers. Now, dedicated servers will cost more because they are putting up dedicated resources for you, and but again, in return, what will happen is that you will have much more faster bandwidth, because now there's not a lot of requests coming into like to that server. Because if you are like working in a shared server, there can be multiple, there can be multiple people or multiple requests coming in. So if you want to try out MongoDB, you can again just try it for free. We'll be showing you the free example. You just have to create an account. In my case, since I already have an account, I will just quickly go ahead and log in with my Google account. But you just have to fill all these basic details. Now, as soon as you log in, over here you'll find certain different things, right? So first, a few of these that you'll see over here is basically, and I'll just quickly give you an overview insight. But what you have to go ahead and do is you have to basically click on like view all organizations. So basically, just consider it in this way, that the org at an org level structure, like you have organizations, then within the organization you will have projects, and then within projects you'll have your databases. So we'll just create a new organization right now, and I'll create the name of the organization as, like, let's say Scalar Web Dev Project. And over here, as you can see, like, the one that we'll be using is the MongoDB Atlas. So MongoDB Atlas is the online version of MongoDB where you can find your hosted databases, right? So we'll select MongoDB Atlas, then we'll click on next. And for now, I'll not add any new members, but, like, let's say, since if you're building a team-based project, or if you're having some other members, you can add their email addresses over here. So over here, I will just click on create this organization. Now within this organization, which I've named as Scalar Web Dev Project, I can create a new project. So for example, in this case, the project name that I can give is let's say the note taking application, right? So I can give my name of this project. Again, I can add people to this project. So it will take just a few seconds to create that. Now, as you can see, that we can create a database. Now there will be certain configurations that we'll see. And again, as we discussed, that you have basically three different ways, to go about it. The first one, that is free of cost, that we'll be using, is the shared database. Shared, again, as I told, is basically that a single resource is being used by multiple uh, projects, right? And then dedicated one, you'll get like a dedicated set of resources where you can set up your project, and this will be much more faster because you'll not have a lot of traffic coming in. And then we also have like serverless. Today serverless applications are becoming very popular, so we also have that. For our case, we'll take the free and the shared one. Now basically there are various different type of clusters, so we can again select these clusters. Essentially, these clusters are based on where exactly they are hosted, then how much amount of RAM size and size of the actual database itself do you actually want. So for example, like, let's say for us, we'll take the cloud provider as AWS. And since like all of us are mostly in India, I will take the cloud provider, the actual server where like these data centers are there. So Mumbai, I'll take Mumbai as the data center. Now, for example, over here in the cluster size, you can see that the one that we have free is the M0 sandbox. So these M0 clusters are again shared, and we get only 500 megabyte of storage. And again, even the CPU is shared because as I've just discussed, that these are in a shared cluster. Now if you were to go if you wanted more storage in your database, you wanted like dedicated resources, then of course the cost will increase. For example, M2 is $9 per month. So I'll be selecting the M0 sandbox. They can, if you want like some other additional settings, like you want to take regular backup, this is something that again comes with paid solutions. You can add backups, so it will regularly take backups of your database. Like, let's say in case of some failure happens in your database, you'll have a backup ready for you. And we can give it cluster name. So like, let's say the cluster name I give it is note taking app. So like, let's say we can give this. Now we'll create the cluster, and it will take roughly 2 to 3 minutes for this to be provisioned. Till then, we can create a database username for this. So for example, in this case, I'll just give, like, let's say username Raghav. So this will be used to actually validate and access this particular database. So I've just given the username and the password as Raghav. And again, you have a few other additional points that you can consider. One is, where do you actually want to sort of connect, or you want to access this particular server, or I mean this particular database from. And then you can also add like IP addresses. So for example, you can either add things such as, like, if you only want this database to be accessed by a certain set of IP addresses, or you want it to be accessed by anyone. So depending on that, we can basically add over here either custom IP addresses, or we can also add like IP address such as 127.0.0.2/1, which essentially means that you will be giving access to this particular this particular database to everyone. And yeah, I mean, that is what we have now. Of course, if we go back to our databases section, right, you can see that over here my database cluster, which is named as node taking app, it is being created. We have officially created our MongoDB app, and as you can see, like it has created this database, and you can see, like, we have some read write operations, and how many number of connections that have been made. So I can now click on this connect button to connect to this database. And as you can see, like you have the option to either add your current IP address, or for now what we'll do is we'll allow to add allow access for everyone, right? And for that it is 0 0 0 0 and we'll add this IP address. That means that we'll be able to connect to this database from anywhere, right? And now what I can do is I can basically, like, let's say choose and I can add Raghav over here, and I also choose password as Raghav. All right, and I'll create this database user, and then we'll choose a connection method. So over here we basically have like these three different type of connection methods. The one that we'll be using specifically is this one, that is the MongoDB Compass. So MongoDB Compass is a GUI, which is graphical user interface, from which you're able to connect to your cluster and to your database. So in this case, this is the MongoDB URI that we want. So I'll copy this and I'll give it to Raghav so that he can carry it forward from here. So just to again, like finally just talk about this, that you can download MongoDB URI, like you can download MongoDB Compass and copy this MongoDB URI. You just have to replace this password with the actual password for the user that you had created. And this is the URI that will be used for your database connectivity.
Yeah, getting back to the main code that I'm using and getting back to the main module, connect mongo.js. So basically what I will be doing is I would be like just deleting this particular Mongo URI that I was using prior, as it was a local MongoDB URI. I would be pasting this long online database that I will be using now. And here you can see over like it's using MongoDB plus SRV. So SRV is basically the next level of encryption that is being provided to the MongoDB. So basically MongoDB is a protocol and an encryption have been made to the MongoDB protocol. Like we have in HTTP along with HTTPS. So having a secured keyword that would be encrypted all the data while transferring from one end to other. So basically, and then we have this username that Shiva have given us. So basically, we have the username and we have to give a password over it. So again, the password is same Raghav, and then this is the note taking application, and where it is our database is deployed, and again separated by the name of the database that we are using. So by default, the database name is test over MongoDB, but again we have to make a change. Like I want to deploy all my uh, data to a database name as scalar. So again, as prior to this, so basically we do have the database name as scalar. So again, this database is same as that of the MongoDB URI that I'm using upon. So I have created this scalar database over here, and now I have done the configuration within the local module. So I would be pushing these latest changes over the Get Heroku online repository. So changes to connect Mongo module. So as soon as I push my code, so again the whole code will be redeployed and reconfigured based upon the build pack that we have used. So we will be wait for the time till it succeeds. So basically, it usually take 10 to 15 seconds to deploy all the application. And now our application have been successfully deployed on upon the scalar dcbootcamp.herokuapp.com just by hitting this URI. And this time, now we have successfully initialized our backend server. So now it is showing me a formatter as I'm using an extension. So basically it is giving me nothing but an empty array. So basically we can neglect this type of text that that is being visible over here. So basically again by specifying it as, so just by clicking on this extension tab, so basically I am using this JSON formatter So this JSON formatter is displaying this kind of formatting stuff. So basically, I would be getting back to my online front end server, and I would be make that particular changes to my online server. So what I will be doing is I would be simply copying this URL from the browser that I have uh, opened, and getting back to the front end module, and we have these two GS files. So basically main.js represent this viewNode.html file. So that is directly connected to the main GS file. So basically I would be writing the main URL over here. So basically https scalar.decbootcamp.herokuapp.com. So this is the main URL, and we would be having a get method request over here to get all the data from the Mongo database through this API, and that would be visible over the screen. And again, so by changing the file name that we have, so basically it's for the view notes.js. So basically again I would be changing this file name in the script tag over the view node.html file. So again changing this to view node.js file, and again I have done the changes in view.js, and again now this is the second part. Like I have created the same instance in this. So again, I would be having the same changes within the create node module. So basically, I would be defining the same URL that I'm using within the create nodes module, and I have just changed the previous prior local URL with the new one, with the online one. So basically, now this time I would be deploying my whole code to the GitHub repository, and further, Shivai have already connected that repository along with that code to Netlify, and our Netlify code have been already deployed upon the server. So what I will be doing is I would be just simply pushing all the code that we have. So again, I would be getting back to it toward it, and now git add, git commit. So updated front end code, and now when I just hit git push, so basically it already push all my code base to the online repository that we have. And now we will wait for few seconds so that our main code will be deployed upon, and just by going toward the main create nodes, so we can see over here. So when I go to view nodes, so I can see in the node network tab like what at which endpoint the request have been given. So basically, again, our request is being given to scalar-dc-bootcamp.herokuapp.com. So our front-end application that I have just made the changes, so that have been successfully deployed, and Netlify have changed all the prior changes to the new one. So now, when I just click on create notes and go back to the console, so I would be writing a create note. Hi Shivai, we have deployed the application on the cloud. So with the name of Raghav. So when I hit save notes, so this time my note have been successfully saved in the database. And now when I get back to view note section, so again this time this note have been successfully fetched. And now when I get back to this Heroku bootcamp, so it is a simple get request. So what I get is just by hitting refresh. So I get this particular JSON over here, like representing. So author is Raghav, and this is a particular note that we are looking upon. And when we get back to the database, so we can see this particular data that is already been there within the MongoDB database. So how we can view all the data? So again, I would be opening this MongoDB Compass, and again, so this Compass would be open. Until that time, I would be go back to this connect MongoDB or Mongo.js, and I would be copying this URI that we have pasted. So I would be hitting copy, and I would be pasting this particular service string over here. So this is the main Mongo URI that we will be looking upon. So just by hitting connect, so our online Mongo database would be connected soon. So basically, yeah, it is being connected to note taking application, note taking dot. So basically, the server where the our note taking MongoDB database have been deployed. So basically, we have the database name named as scalar, and by looking over it, so we have user entry over here. So I can see my name over in the author and my notes over here. So basically, we have deployed our MongoDB to the cloud server along with our database and the front end. And whenever we need to create some changes, so we just have to do the changes in our local database, and we just have to use the common git command that we have learned in the module 1, so that in order to deploy our application, so we have simply created and deployed application by using git itself. So we does not have to learn any other command, rather the simple git command, git add, git commit and push. And again, by using the three simple tools, that is the initial one is the Netlify for deployment of the front-end application. The second is the Heroku for deployment of the backend application, along with creating a MongoDB database online by using MongoDB Atlas. So basically, just by configuring these three steps, so we can directly host our whole three things, that front end, back end, the database, to online world, so that other people can also view our stuff. So basically, what I want to do is now I just will be getting back to home page, and we can neglect this index.html, so it would be having serving the same page as index.html would won't be counted. So I would be sharing this particular URL to any person all around the world, so that they can view my application, along with they can also create a new note. And again, we there are a bunch of functions that we can apply upon, like we can add filters, we can add a delete APIs, we can configure it, we can edit our own note, we can edit authors, we can apply sortable entities, we can also filter it based on what type at what point the notes have been created, by date or by author name. We can There are endless possibilities that we can use upon to create our own application in the online world. So that's upon your thinking and your procedural step that you will be following. So again, having a total recap, so what we have covered is, so basically we have learned about Netlify and how we can deploy our application, our front end application basically to Netlify, and again how by connecting it through GitHub, how we can deploy it, our code base to GitHub, and then how we can deploy our backend application, how we can configure about our language based backend application, and again learning about the foundational structure, how Heroku works, and again by you how we can create our online databases and URLs, and how we can connect them from each other by using this Axios request, and by creating this simple REST API through Express server. And again, so this is how we conclude our session.
The next question is by Pooja. Should we place the MongoDB URL in the code itself or other environment variables? That's actually a really good question. And ideally, we would recommend you to put it in an environment variable. Raghav, probably we can just give them a very quick demonstration of doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good question. Like it's a privacy type of thing. Like we
Yeah.
does not want to show this particular URI to each and every user or each and every contributor. For example, if I'm working in the live environment, like I am in a big MNC company, and I don't want my developers to view this particular URI. So what I do is I would be creating a different bunch of environments. So initially, many steps can be taken upon. Like either I can create a development database over there, or I can use environment variables. So basically, how can I do that is by creating this simple .env file. I have, as I've said it earlier. So basically, this .env file is the main environment variable file over which we define our variable. that is again not visible to any of the user or any of the developers that are working upon this project. And again, how we can prevent this env file to deployed or to pushed to the main github repository. So basically we have this git ignore file. So we just simply write down the file name as .env. So you can see over here that .env file is green in color. So basically we can add this file to our main git repository. But I don't want to do that. As soon as I save within this git ignore file, so basically you can see over here this the green color have been changed to a dimmed gray color. So basically that denotes like .env file won't be pushed within the online database. So we can prevent the online env variables to be pushed to the online database that upon the main repository. And again, uh, defining this MongoDB URI. So basically just by copying that, and I can define this as Mongo URI. So the variable name can be differ from each other. Either it can be ABC or something else, but so it must be relevant. So basically I would be defining the variable name as MongoDB Mongo URI, and I would be again getting this particular URI upon this. And how can I use this environment variables? Just by getting back to the connect mongo.js file. So I would be creating a new variable named as mongo UI. And again, as similar as that we have done within the server.js, while we are having the port fetching from the environment variable. So what I will be doing is we have a simple object known as process. So this is the main node object. So at the runtime, so this process object have been made. So basically we are telling process to get into the env folder file and fetch the particular MongoDB URI from there. So basically we would be just pasting this MongoDB URI over here. And if I try to just connect, if I try to console this particular MongoDB URI from the terminal, so I will be writing just npm start. So basically, so we have a bunch of error over there. So we can check that out. And again we are at, okay, we are at the base folder. So I have to go to module 6 folder, and then I have to go to the backend folder in order to have my package.json accessible. So if I again have all the directories visible over the screen, so now I have the package.json file in hand. So I would be writing just npm start. So at this time my server have been up. And uh, again there is some misconfiguration over there. So I would be again having the stuff. So mongo URI, and then okay, okay, it must be an open parameter. So basically we have to define by it by any other mean. So we have either we can use that server.js file in order to fetch all the stuff. So we can check also this out. So by creating a new port number over here. So just by typing the particular port number from here, by simply writing port is equal to like 4670, and we can check this port number out. Console.log. So again by writing npm start. Yeah, so definitely there's some misconfiguration happened in the MongoDB.js file. So basically we can access all the environment variable name by using this particular process.env.port, and we can declare all the environment variables over here. And on Heroku, how we can define all the environment variables is just by going back to the Heroku and by selecting the particular application name. So just by going into the settings, so you can see configure where. So this configure where is nothing but the main environment variable. So again, it's basically a key value pair over which we can define our environment variables. So basically, instead writing this MongoDB URI over here, we can write this particular key name over here, and we can paste this particular particular MongoDB URI. We will be just pressing copy, and we can paste this value over here. And now this value would be directly accessible only to this particular app. So no one else can access this uh, environment variable from their application, or unless and until they have this particular string. So I have to click add, and when I hit save, and again I would be deleting this environment variable as it's not being used, and again it's being ignored by Git. So that's why it was not giving me a particular instance of variables. So what I will be doing is I would be just again on I would be consoling this particular MongoDB URI, and again I would be removing this console. So basically I would be pushing all the code to the server. So changed MongoDB URI to fetch URI from environment variables. So again, when I hit git push, so at this instance of time, I would be having another set of terminal open side by side. So you can see all the logs over here. So I would be writing a simple command Heroku log hyphen tail to get all the log that is being available over the uh, main Heroku page. So basically, okay, it's representing my app is missing. So basically, I have to be in the current folder in which I have deployed the application. So again, I will be writing Heroku log over here, Heroku log hyphen tail. So now the command would be running as I am already in the backend folder. So at the new terminal, I was not in the backend folder. So now you can see that the port number is 15820 and my MongoDB URI is over here. So again, if you search this particular MongoDB URI in this whole project, so basically you can see I have not pasted the URL in this application. So no one can check this particular MongoDB URI from my code base. Rather than they just have to go to the main Heroku application and they have to search through the environment variable configuration. So there they can find this particular MongoDB application, and there's how we can use this environment variables, and while we can secure our private strings as well as password from other users site. So yeah, so this is a small demo, so how we can use the environment variable in order to have some privacy.
All right. Yeah. So with that, that's the official conclusion for this entire bootcamp. I hope that with this session, with this entire bootcamp, you were able to learn a lot more things about what exactly is development and the entire end-to-end journey of creating a full stack application. This will be beneficial for in case you want to, like, go ahead and actually start building full stack applications